Marhaban. Looking through the Arabic cultural differences, the main thing that I liked and really stood out to me the most was just the focus on like interpersonality and understanding each other, becoming friends quickly, gaining connections, and just that connect like the difference between strangers and friends being very distinct, but also very quick to change from one to the other because that's just the culture and that's what's expected. Um, but what really surprised me the most is even though like globally and as a whole, kind of the global trend during the current age is very much towards more secular ideas or more secular acceptance of the kind of idea that government is acceptable to be separate from religion and religious ideas in the Arabic world. That is very much an unheard of, especially here recently. Um, and then it really does make sense when you look at the especially the Muslim and the Christian influence kind of collapse or not collapsing, clashing together. Um, and it really just makes sense how a lot of everyday life is just religiously integrated, whether it be Muslim practices, Christian practices, or just various ancient practices that don't really fall into either specific camp. Um, so when it comes to how they really connect, especially in my experience with my own culture, both really hold a high reverence to God, even though the difference in especially the Western view of what we've turned it into in the United States versus what it sounds like in the Arab culture, a lot more of a open and general definition encompassing Christian and Muslims and Jewish individuals, just anybody who takes on that monolithic, monotheistic God, kind of all encompassing on that. But then it's also those kind of traditional family ties and how closely regulated and how important those kind of things are on paper and in theory. Um, all of those were really key in my Baptist upbringing, but when it came to kind of focusing in reality, the focus on especially intra-family connection and making sure that everybody was on the same page or very much like trying to maintain that kind of control. It was very much there, but it was very much the secondary focus to religion. So it was more you were more expected to follow the religion than you were expected to take care of each other or take care of one another's needs or just being there for one another. And that definitely caused a lot of strife, but it does sound like it can potentially be similar in Arab culture, but not to, at the very least, what I experienced. And then additionally, just like the concept of like offering aid without like considering whether it can or even is possible to be done in the way it was described was very foreign to my kind of concept. And then some additional facts that I found, just how deeply ingrained Arabic calligraphy is and how ingrained it is with the history, like all the way down to adorning the Quran and adorning mosques and various architectures, and just how ingrained the language is and how beautiful it can be, especially when it comes to the lack of icons and iconography being very iconoclastic with especially Islam. And then just how different cultures within Arab culture itself kind of approach things differently. Just how I found that, like being offered a snack in certain Arabic countries, the kind of general accepted rule is refuse once and then accept. But in specifically Jordan, the generic acceptable rule sounds to be you must refuse twice. Like that is the acceptable amount of times, and then you can accept. And it's just those regional difference really I find it very fascinating, and it's just something that you don't explicitly see until you really look for it, and then once you look for it in other cultures, you really can start to see it in your own and see it in different, like even here in the United States. But yeah, masalam.